For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Shotgun Spratling for instant analysis of USC's 31-24 loss to Oregon in the Pac-12 Championship Game. Now, Shotgun, I want to start with the scene that was just behind us. It was the Ducks celebrating a championship on USC's home turf in the Coliseum. And the mantra for USC this season, both on the field and in recruiting, has been take back the West. But it's hard to do that when Oregon's in your own home turf winning a championship.
Not just winning a championship, but dancing, sliding across the emblem at midfield at the end of the game. The streamers are going later. They're singing and dancing, and you can't do anything about it because you just let them come into your house. And a two-loss Oregon team will now represent the Pac-12 in a New Year's Six Bowl instead of an undefeated USC, previously undefeated USC. I would have had the entire USC team out here if I was the coaching staff and said, I want you to watch this. I want you to burn this into your brain. I want this to be your motivation throughout the entire offseason. You can't take back the West if the team that has won the Pac-12 championship the previous year and the team that is dominating you in recruiting over the last couple of seasons, if they're the team that is coming into your house and putting you to bed for the season. That's what Oregon just did to USC. USC had a great opportunity. There's never going to be another Pac-12 championship in a home field, we don't think. Hopefully not. Hopefully there's no more weird 2020 seasons like this. But USC had a great opportunity in the Coliseum to celebrate in their locker room, let everyone know it. It could be a great momentum push coming off of early signing period and just continuing that momentum. Instead, a lot of heads hung low today as USC was walking to the locker room while those Oregon players were out there doing snow angels and stuff in the confetti.
Mm-hmm. Now, Clay Helton said after the game there's a lot of hurt souls in the locker room, and obviously if you go 5-0, but this was a team that had to come back 3 times in the last second. We talked a lot about how special players made special plays in critical moments, but it just seemed like the mistakes that USC was just trying to run ahead of the whole season finally caught up to them in this game.
Yeah, it was the same deficiencies that we've seen throughout the season. Whether it be the penalties, whether it be the turnovers we saw in the early couple games, whether just not having a running game at all, and forcing Keaton Slovis to drop back over 50 times, and he got beat up in this game. The offensive line didn't protect well enough for him and didn't run the ball well enough. A lot of the same issues over and over and over. The defense did their part, but they still could have made a couple more plays. There were a couple of bonehead penalties, not just penalties, but bonehead penalties that put the other team back on the field or continued drives for Oregon. Opportunities that USC had to get off the field, different things like that, just continues to be the same issues over and over, and that all goes back to coaching. It all starts up top. If you can't correct the mistakes, USC has been able to identify what they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
They're not correcting them, though. And, their special players were making enough plays to overcome that. And tonight, if your special players don't do enough, what's going to happen? You saw USC wasn't able to overcome their mistakes, whereas they moved the ball better than Oregon. They played better defense probably than Oregon, and yet they lost because of penalties and turnovers. And it's been a consistent theme for them. And do you blame the players when Talanoa Hufanga can't make a tipped interception? Do you blame the players when Brew McCoy can't come up with a very difficult over-the-head catch? No, that's you expect those players to make those just because they've done it over and over, but it shouldn't be on them.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, there should be a guy that's wide open, like Oregon had multiple times for their touchdowns, and that's schematics, and you're just not seeing that from USC. So the blame goes above the players to me on this one. The players did as much as they could. They fought hard, 3 games in 13 days, but at the end of the day, if you don't put them in enough positions to succeed, then they're not going to.
Yeah, penalties and turnovers is what we've heard from Clay Helton a lot, not even just this season, but prior to this season. And USC actually had more penalty yards than they had rushing yards. What did you see from this offensive line and Keaton Slovis? USC is now 0-3 when Keaton Slovis throws 3 picks. It just didn't seem like his night to die from the very beginning.
Yeah, most teams are 0-3 when their quarterback throws 3 picks, just to say. The offensive line, they gave him some time at times, but they just weren't consistently able to slow down that Oregon pass rush. And the Oregon pass rush hasn't been great this year, even though they got some talented players over there. So it comes down to USC's, needed to make more plays, and they didn't. And by not being able to run the ball, you put that much more pressure on the pass blocking. You put that much more pressure on Keaton Slovis, to buy some time when you can't run the ball on 1st and 2nd down, to create 3rd and 3, where now you run a play action and guys wide open, versus now it's 3rd and 10, and you have to drop back. You have to buy some time so receivers can get downfield, all those type things. And it all starts for me to be able to pick up some yardage on those first couple of downs and use the run game to do that, and they weren't able to do that tonight. It's been a consistent theme, like we said. The offensive line didn't do well enough. Again, 3 games in 13 days is a viable excuse. It does play a part. You had some players come in that were nicked up. I was told Elijah Vera-Tucker was a game-time decision coming into this. You know, you had some other players that were banged up and didn't finish the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keaton Slovis was being checked out after the game, after a final play injury. So, you know, it takes its toll. However, USC was a more talented team tonight. Their coaches didn't put them in enough positions to win.
Yeah, it was a close game. It wasn't like this was a blow and they were tired. It was a close game. They were there. Now, special teams is something that we've praised. They didn't get in USC's way, which they have in other seasons, but they did today. That's penalties on special teams. Talanoa tackling the punter. Not sure what happened there, but special teams just did not help out the team tonight.
No, missed field goal by Parker Lewis, a very makeable field goal there. They did come up with an onside kick, but this was the thing. USC's not able to sustain momentum.
Yeah.
You know, you saw this last week against UCLA. The third quarter, they're rolling, and then suddenly they throw an interception and immediately give up a 60-yard bomb. The game, they get the onside kick and then go 3 and out right after it. So they did, you know, the special teams was able to give them a couple plays, but you know, it wasn't consistent enough. They needed the special teams not to give them any bad plays in this game when it was such a thin line of being able to save this game and save this undefeated season. They needed everything to kind of go their way as far as not getting, you know, not hurting themselves, because they were hurting themselves in so many other areas. And a big penalty on that one, continue to drive. You know, they just missing the field goal, that changes the complexion of the end of the game and stuff. You know, and USC had opportunities.
Yep.
They got the ball back with about 4.5 minutes left, and you go, is this USC doing it again?
Yeah.
Again? But Keaton Slovis kind of throws a slider, trying to throw the ball out of bounds, and, you know, great play by the defender to make a play. And that's the thing. When you play teams that have other talented players, when you're not playing Arizona, then they make a play too. They make a play that changes the outcome of the game. And I mean, this is what I predicted. This is what I predicted, that they would lose this game, and it would be one big play that would kind of swing it. And I think that interception was kind of that big play to swing things for Oregon there, because USC had some momentum again, but couldn't sustain it. And that's been a thing for them. You know, they can't, when they start getting on a roll, you know, even when they start getting on a roll, they can't continue it, and kind of, you can't put teams away when they're ahead, and they can't just, you know, roll smoothly through a team even if they start off sluggish. This game will start off sluggish, and then it was up and down throughout the game, and they never could get ahead of Oregon.
Well, that seems to be the theme, I guess, and to go big picture in the Clay Helton era. When USC has faced a team that has the combo of talent and to be coached well, it just doesn't usually work out for this USC team. Yeah,
when USC plays teams that are around the same talent level as them or more talented, they don't usually win those games. Save maybe that Rose Bowl victory, which was an amazing game.
Yeah.
Save that. What other games are they really winning? You know, maybe you want to say the Washington game that season as well. That's, what, 4 or 5 years ago now. That's a long time ago. When are they going to start winning some games with consistency with this team? You know, putting a team away when they can. It's not in their blood right now. And that comes from the top down.
Well, in that sense, Clay Helton was asked, what will it take to take the next step as a program? And I think the reporter was looking for tangibles of the next steps, but Clay Helton said that their next goal is to win a Pac-12 championship. He said on the whole that they're there, they're close, but they're not there yet. What do you make of those comments? Because you just mentioned Clay Helton has been the coach for a couple years now.
Even if they win a Pac-12 championship, are you then going to go to a bowl game and flop against an Ohio State like they did in the Cotton Bowl? That's not... Fans do not expect more out of this program. This is a blue blood program, 11 national championships, all the Heisman trophies, all the All-Americans that are on the walls around us. That's what fans expect. Now, if you want to say those aren't the expectations at USC anymore, then okay. Then this is perfectly acceptable if that's what the administration wants, and that's what the head coach, the athletic department wants. But if your goal is still to be a blue blood program that wins national championships, competes for national championships, competes for college football playoff, then you've got to take a next step much sooner than, hey, our next step is Pac-12 championship. Our next step should be, we're going to figure out why we create so many, have so many turnovers, have so many penalties, and fix it. Not just say, well, that's the problem, and we need to fix it, but they don't ever fix it, and that's the issue. They're not fixing the issues that they have.
Well, what happens next? USC hasn't said anything about a bowl game. I think if they were in the Fiesta Bowl, that would be a no-brainer that they would go. But Clay Helton said that he hasn't thought a second past the Pac-12 Championship Game. So we don't know yet if USC will elect to play in a bowl or not. Some Pac-12 teams have said that they won't, so that's TBD right now. As we were preparing for Instant, we did see Isaiah Polamau and Talanoa Hufanga take some time underneath the goalpost, really taking in the Coliseum. Read into that what you want, but there are decisions to be made both at a team level and at a player level.
Yeah, definitely. Both of those guys shared a hug right before they went up the tunnel for the possibly last time together. You know, if both of them are not gone, probably one of them at least is gone. So that's kind of what that kind of signified to me, you know, that they're sharing one moment together again, one last moment together at the Coliseum. But you go into a bowl game, and depending on what bowl game they're selected for, we'll find out on Sunday. You know, you may have some players that just say, I'm done with it. This season has been too much for me. And that's what you've seen in a lot of other programs. You know, a program like Utah or UCLA where playing in a bowl game would be beneficial. Just having those extra practices, young guys, all those type things, always beneficial. But it's just been such a rough year on the players and the coaches and everything, from everything outside of what's going on between the sidelines. So I think that that's something that will be of question once the USC, you know, determines what they're going to do on Sunday, or they're told what bowl game they'll be in. You know, we'll see who decides to suit up for them for that bowl game. There may be some guys that opt out, and maybe some guys that are coming back that just opt out and say, I don't think I can spend another month away from my family. I want to go home for Christmas type of thing. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. But unfortunately for USC, there'd be a lot more momentum going into that Fiesta Bowl with a win. Instead, you know, a 2-loss Oregon team is going to be representing the Pac-12.
Crazy. Now I'm going to put the bowl talk on hold and what comes with that on hold. I just want to make sense of this 5-1 USC season. Is it too harsh? You just mentioned how hard this was. That USC had to jump so many hurdles to even just play on this field. They sacrificed a lot, both coaches and players. So how much do you judge this team as critically as we are right now?
I think you want to, you know, measure them up against their peers. So if you look at their Pac-12 peers, you say, hey, this is a successful season. Or is your goal a Pac-12 championship, or is it a national championship? If you measure them up against their national contenders, then this season is not acceptable because you're not playing to your potential. That's the biggest issue, and I think that's the biggest thing that frustrates and aggravates USC fans is they see what can be, but what never actually is. You know, they see these comebacks and say, man, if we just did this all game, if we just played like we do in the fourth quarter in the first 3 consistently, then this team would be great. But unfortunately for USC, that has not been the MO of this group under Clay Helton. They haven't played to their potential consistently. You know, every once in a while you'll see it, but you don't see 3, 4, 5 game stretches where you're just like, wow, this team's playing really well. They're playing to their potential all the time. Yeah. You know, it's more like, wow, they played to their potential tonight. Yeah. You're more surprised when it happens rather than it being a consistent thing. So that's what USC needs to get back to. Yeah. If they play to their potential, they have a lot of talented players. I think their offensive system can do a lot of good things. I think Todd Orlando's defensive system can do a lot of good things, but they need to put it together, and that's the thing that hasn't necessarily happened at USC the last few years. Give them a ton of credit for what they've been able to do this year as far as being able to get their games in, all but one of their games, you know, with the testing and everything, all the craziness that's going on. But you would still like to see the team, even with the craziness, you'd like to see them improve as the season progressed. And the defense, I think, did that after the first couple of weeks. Yeah. I think that was just the rust of a new defense and not having the regular amount of practice. But the rest of the team, it just didn't feel like there was a constant progression. That's what you're kind of looking for from a team.
Yep. Alrighty, Shotgun. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up here for, I guess, the final time in 2020 in the Coliseum?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a weird year, definitely. And you know, they fought through all the adversities that they were given and were able to play for the Pac-12 Championship, but against a 2-loss Oregon team, and especially the team that has been, you know, that you've been neck and neck with, like going at each other's neck, not just, hey, we're in a race neck and neck, going at each other's neck, especially on the recruiting, recruiting level. You needed to beat those guys just to kind of, you know, put your foot on their throat and let them know that, hey, we are taking back the West. This is our conference. And instead, Oregon said, we're the dominant team right now. Mario Cristobal just got a contract extension. That's going to, you know, play well for recruits and stuff. But so USC doesn't take care of, doesn't take care of business when they have an opportunity to.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up here from the Coliseum for 2020. For Shotgun Spratling, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out USCfootball.com.